In this video, I want to derive the equation of motion of the system in terms of x1 double dot, which is the acceleration of this block of mass 1. Now, what is going on in this system? Well, I have a cylinder that's connected through a rope to a block, and both the cylinder and the block are in inclined planes. However, they can be at different angles. So the cylinder, the angle of the plane for the cylinder is an angle theta. The angle of the plane for the mass is angle beta. Now, I've defined the x positive direction to be going down the plane for both the cylinder and the block. The cylinder has a radius of r. It has a mass of m2, and it has an inertia of I2. The block has a mass of m1. There's only a couple of other assumptions. First, the cylinder is going to roll without slipping, but there is friction between the cylinder and the plane that it's on. The mass does not have any friction between it and the plane that it is on. Finally, the pulley, which is right here, has no mass, no inertia, which becomes very important because now the tension that's in the rope that's going over it is going to, since there's one rope, it's going to be one tension. There's no inertia on that pulley. Now, how am I going to solve this problem? First, I'm going to solve it using free body diagrams. And this is going to be similar to a way you would see in an engineering dynamics class. Then I'm going to resolve it using equivalent mass. And I'm going to show that the answers are equivalent. So let's start by taking the free body diagram of the cylinder. So for this cylinder, we have a couple of forces. First, we have this tension of my rope. Next, I have a normal force, and this normal force is going to be perpendicular to the surface. So it'd be perpendicular to the plane that it's on. Finally, I have two more, but I have a weight force that goes straight down, and my weight is going to be m2 times gravity. I'm going to decompose this into a weight that goes this way. So this is going to be m2g times the sine of theta, because we know this angle right here is the same as an inclined plane. So that angle is theta. And I'm going to say this angle, this part of my weight right here is m2g times the cosine of theta. Now, just to clean this up, I'm going to get rid of this weight, just so we don't get overwhelmed. And I do have a frictional force I need to remember. So I'm going to say that everything's moving in my positive direction. So this is moving down the plane. So if my acceleration is moving down the plane, and this needs to be the cylinder needs to be rotating that way, that's going to be my positive direction. I'm going to say that my frictional force is going to oppose this motion. So this right here is my frictional force, so it points up the plane. So now I have the free body diagram of my cylinder, and I'm going to work with my equations of motion. So I'm going to have the sum of my forces is equal to mass times acceleration. Now, where are my forces? They come from the free body diagram. So anything that's going down is going to be positive. That's going to be the m2g times the sine of theta. Then anything that's going up is negative. So minus the frictional force minus the tension. And that's going to be equal to mass 2 times, we're going to write this in terms of this x2 double dot. So the acceleration 2. Now let's go to the next equation. Since this is translating and rotating, I'm going to have the sum of my moments is equal to my inertia times my angular acceleration. Again, we said this was the positive direction. So anything rotating that way is going to create a moment. However, I didn't draw it particularly well, but all these forces act through the center of mass except my frictional force. So the frictional force is going to be my frictional force. The distance it is away from the center is a distance of r, is going to be equal to I2 times alpha, which is my angular acceleration. Now, what we need to do, well, we have a lot of unknowns, but because we have an assumption that we roll without slipping, the equation that my acceleration is equal to r times alpha holds. So this means, in our case, that x2 double dot is equal to r times alpha, and alpha is going to be x2 double dot, my acceleration of 2, over r. I forgot the capital R there, but okay. So now what we're going to do, we're going to plug in this expression for alpha. We're going to solve for our frictional force and plug in our frictional force here. So we have the frictional force times R is equal to I2 times x2 double dot over R. Dividing by an R, I get my frictional force is equal to I2 x2 double dot over r squared. So this is going to come back into this equation right here. So I'll get m2g times the sine of theta minus I2 x2 double dot over r squared minus t is equal to m2 x2 double dot. Now I'm going to rearrange this a little bit just to make it easier for me later. I'm going to move all my x2 double dots to the same side. So I'm going to have m2g times the sine of theta minus t is equal to m2 x2 double dot plus I2 x2 double dot over r squared. So this is as far as I want to go with the cylinder. Now I need to draw a free body diagram of the block. So with the block, it's a lot of the same forces as the cylinder. I have a tension force that goes this way. And this is why that pulley is massless is so important, because this tension force is going to be the same. So now I'm going to be able to relate this tension force and that tension force and get one expression. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have a normal force. It's actually not going to come into play, but we'll call this N. And I'm going to decompose my weights again. So my weight here, really my weight is going down, just like the cylinder. My weight's going down, but I can decompose it into M1 times G times the sine of beta, because the angle of this incline is beta. And then I have M1G times the cosine of beta. We are now going to use the equations of motion. So the sum of my forces is equal to mass times acceleration. This is not rotating, so this is the only equation we have. And again, I'm going to assume going down the plane is positive. Now, this is going to pose a little bit of a problem, right? This can't be going down the plane, and this can't be going down the plane. We'll adjust that in a minute by dealing with some pulley kinematics and pulley lengths and everything. But right now, let's just assume it's in the positive direction. So here, I'm going to have minus t plus m1g times the sine of beta is equal to m1 x1 double dot. Okay, solve for t. I get t is equal to m1g sine of beta minus m1 x double dot. And now what I can do is plug this into this equation right here. So when I do that, and then I'll deal with the ropes, I'll have m2g times the sine of theta minus, I got to distribute this minus sign, m1g sine of beta plus m1 x1 double dot is equal to m2 x2 double dot plus I2 x2 double dot over r squared. So now we're almost there. We almost have everything in terms of this acceleration. So let's look at how we can relate x1 and x1 double dot and x2 double dot. So my accelerations. And that's going to happen because I have this pulley. So with this pulley, I have a piece of rope that changes, and I'm going to call this distance right here, I'm going to call it S1. This let's call it X2. This distance right here, I'll call X1. This distance that's over this pulley, I'll just call D. So the total length of my rope is going to be equal to whatever X2 is, and that's variable depending if the cylinder goes up or down. So X2 plus, this is never going to change. The rope over that pulley is never going to change. The pulley doesn't extend. So plus D plus X1. Differentiate this once with respect to time. I get 0 is equal to X2 dot plus 0 plus X1 dot, right? Only this length of rope is going to change. This never changes, so its derivative is 0. Differentiate again. I get 0 is equal to X2 double dot plus X1 double dot. To solve and to put X1 in this equation, I'll have X2 is equal to minus X1 double dot. Now I can substitute this into this equation and get M2G times the sine of theta minus M1G times the sine of beta is equal to a minus M1 X1 double dot minus M2 X1 double dot minus I2 X1 double dot over R squared. Now, what can I do? I can take out a minus sign, bring it to the other side, and take out an X1 double dot. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to get M1G times the sine of beta minus M2G times the sine of theta, because I've taken a negative sign out and moved it to the other side of the equation, is equal to M1 plus M2 plus I2 over R squared X1 double dot. And this is my equation of motion. So this is my equation of motion using traditional free body diagrams and Newton's law and Newton's equations of motion. Now, I said I wanted to do this in a slightly different way. So I'm going to take away a lot of this intermediate work right here. I want to keep some things, but I'm going to use equivalent mass now. Yes. So for equivalent mass, I really want to start with the energy. So let's look at the equivalent mass. I start with the kinetic energy of each of my elements. So what do I have here? I have a rolling element and a translating element. So it's going to be some 1/2 mv, and let's be more careful. M2 v2 squared. Well, actually, I know that my velocity is going to be the same because we're connected with that string. So velocity squared plus 1/2, this is my rotating, I omega squared, so I2 omega squared, plus, now I do this box. So this right here is my cylinder. Now I do the box, which is just translating 1/2 m1v squared. Let me get a little bit more room. So now that I have this, I know it still rolls without slipping, and I have a relationship between omega and my velocity. So my velocity is going to be equal to omega r. So I need to get it in terms of velocity. So I'm going to have omega is equal to v over r. When I plug it into this term right here, what do I get? I get 1/2 I2 v squared over r squared. And I've gone from a capital to a lowercase r, but I'll live with that. Now, what happens? I can take a 1/2 out of each of these terms. I can take a v squared out of each of these terms, and I'm left with my equivalent mass is my kinetic energy is 1/2 times m2 plus I2 over r squared plus m1 times v squared. Now this right here is my equivalent mass. This is very similar and exactly the same to this right here. So that's my equivalent mass. So now what I want to do is I want to do a free body diagram of my equivalent mass and then use my equations of motion. So if I have this block of mass and I'm going to be moving this way, I need to identify the forces on this. However, I'm not going to identify the friction force. The friction force, if you look right here, is already caught up in this rotational term. So this term right here is that frictional force right there. So I don't want to include friction. I just want to include the weights. So this way, I'm going to have a weight of, what would that be? That's the cylinder. The cylinder is pulling it this way, which is going to be m2g times the sine of theta. This is my positive direction. This way is going to be m2g, m1g times the sine of beta. So now if I do the sum of my forces is equal to my equivalent mass times this acceleration 1, right? Because I'm going towards this acceleration. I get this is equal to minus m2g times the sine of theta plus m1g times the sine of beta. That is this side right here. Equals my equivalent mass. So let's write it m1 plus m2 plus I2 over r squared times the acceleration I'm looking for, so x1 double dot. So that's the equivalent mass method. Now, here's the equation of motion. And you can see that these methods give you equivalent answers. Now, which one's easier? Maybe you think the equivalent mass method is easier. Maybe you think the free body diagram method is easier. I think in this particular case, the equivalent mass is a little bit easier, but that's up to you. And hopefully I've shown you two different ways to solve the problem.